Let me see. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you all to the Awakening Souls podcast. And I am your host, Suzette Denny, and my guest today is Laura. She is a QHHT practitioner, and she's going to tell you all about her um, awakening, how she became to the QHHT, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about my session because she did me live in Florida. It was so amazing. I loved it so much. And here she is.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Laura. I am a level 1 intern for the QHHT process. And what that is, it's quantum healing hypnosis technique. And it's a specialized technique that was pioneered by a wonderful woman named Dolores Cannon and her husband. And it started in the 1960s. And her and her husband learned how to do traditional hypnotherapy, the kind that I think most people think about when they want to quit smoking or lose weight, when they want those powerful suggestions put into their mind to stop or start whatever it is that they need. They were doing traditional hypnosis, and actually her husband was doing it. She was kind of assisting, and they were in the military. And so they were doing military families. And
Mm.
they met with a woman who was an overeater, and she wanted to know how she could stop eating so much. And when they did this past life regression, they noticed that when they did this hypnosis session, she noticed that she began talking about very strange things. A lot of it wasn't making sense, and they realized that they touched upon something very unique and very special. And what they did over time is they worked with her, that same person, that same client. They asked if she would be willing to kind of do a little experiment. And they ended up regressing her into 5 different past lives that were all amazing. Yes,
Wow.
yes. And I encourage anyone who's interested in this, especially interested in Dolores and how this started, is to read her book, 5 Lives Remembered. That was the book that she wrote. It was not her first book. Actually, it was her first book, but she did not publish it until later. So it came out after she had already published a lot of her findings. And it basically tells you the start of how her and her husband came to do this. And it explains this wonderful energy that they and us as practitioners are now able to tap into that has all of the answers about the person, about all of the lives that they have lived, and about general knowledge of the universe. So it's this great energy that comes through that is loving and kind, and all it wants to do is help us in the current life that we are in. Because as you know, the world is crazy. Stuff
Yes.
happens. We don't know how to navigate it, right? And we get stuck in these ruts, right? We get stuck in these habits. We keep meeting the same people. We keep playing out these same things over and over again.
Yeah.
And it helps us when we're in those situations to figure out, why are we stuck? Why am I so stuck? What started this? And it can help you figure out what started it and how to stop it.
Well, that's crazy. I did not know her husband was doing it. So her husband is actually doing it first.
Yes, her husband was the one who did the hypnosis first, and she just
Okay.
sat in and helped out.
Well,
And
I
then,
have been following her for years. And not to do it, but just watched her because she has so much knowledge, just her videos. And I just never knew. And I knew her daughter did some kind of body speaking things or
Mhm,
whatever. But
mhm.
yeah, she really she really has helped the world. She has.
She has, and if you, I can't remember how many books she's had, but it's got to be close to
Oh my
50.
god. Yeah, it's a lot.
Every single piece of information in there does not come from her. It is
Right.
nothing that she is getting. It is all coming from the clients' mouths themselves. And that's what I love about this modality the most, is because it is coming from your higher self. It is coming from an energy that is not your own conscious mind.
Mm-mm.
Um, so the information is coming through you, and you actually hit the nail on the head when you said channeling. I
Mm.
remember you sent me a text. You was like, "Oh my God, I'm channeling." And
Yeah.
at first I thought I wanted to, I'm not that I was poo-pooing it, but I wanted you to realize it was your higher self, but it
Yeah.
is channeling.
Right.
Channeling basically is when you're taking your conscious mind and you're kind of putting it away and allowing something bigger or greater than yourselves to come through and speak through you. And that's exactly what happens in those sessions is your higher, I call it your higher self.
Yeah.
Um, Dolores calls it your subconscious, but
Right.
that she started calling that a long time ago, before everybody else, like psychiatrists and doctors, started talking about the subconscious mind. So I want to be clear, it's not the same as you think of when psychiatrists are saying subconscious. Dolores just didn't know what to call it at the time when this first started happening. And she knew it wasn't the conscious mind. She knew it was something deeper, sub. So she referred to it the subconscious. But I call it higher self. You can call it overlord. You can call it whatever this great higher energy is that comes through and helps us in our current life.
Yeah, it really helped me. I've never experienced anything like that. And I think this could help a lot of people because when yourself is telling you what you need to know, and like you could tell me, or my daughter could tell me, or Tom could tell me, but when it's your higher self telling you, you're like, oh, okay, I got it now, because it's you. It's
Right.
your higher, and you know it's you because you're sitting there, and then you get the recording back, and you're like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. And it's so funny. I wanted to tell you this. When that little girl that went into the house, and I remember talking about 11 people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
My mom said that was my grandmother, and she lived, her siblings, including her mother and father, was 11 people in this
Ah,
small little house. And I mean, oh my God, I have goosebumps right now, but I was like, oh my God, that was and that was weird. Can you bring stuff like that? Your grandmother, or is it you, or is it, well, I guess it's a part of you.
it's a part of you. So
Okay.
let me kind of go over real quickly the how the whole process works so
Yeah.
that people
Go ahead.
understand what part we're talking about. So when someone
Okay.
comes in for a QHHT session, like when Suzette did, the first part is really get to know the client. And when Suzette came, I know you had some apprehension about meeting with me because you'd never met me before. You
Hmm.
talked to me briefly on the phone. You were
Right.
going to some strange lady's house that you didn't know if there was somebody else there, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it was daunting, or it can be daunting to someone who doesn't know me. But my job is to have them come in and make them feel comfortable.
Right.
Um, I want to help. That's why I got into this.
Yes.
There's a lot of different spiritual modalities that I was looking at, but what resonated with me so much was exactly what you said. All of the information comes from you and your
Yes.
voice. I'm not putting any suggestions in. I'm not saying
Hmm.
anything. I'm not saying, oh, I'm getting this feeling, or,
Right.
I would love to have those, but I don't. I don't get that stuff yet.
Mm.
So everything comes from you and your voice. Um, but after we talk for a long time, the interview is really crucial. A lot of times people want to gloss over it, or, oh, you kind of know me a little bit. You know my struggles. I don't think we need to get too deep and dirty. But honestly, the more the conscious mind, which is what's talking in the interview, the more the conscious mind talks, the more it gets tired. And the longer you talk, the more tired it gets. And then it's easier for me to induce you into that nice, relaxed state and get the conscious mind out of there. Because the conscious mind is going to want to come in and say, hey, this feels weird. I don't know who this person is. Oh, this doesn't make sense. That's just pretend it didn't happen. They're going to try to derail the session
Yeah, the whole
because they
session.
want to keep you safe, and they don't know any different.
Right.
They're so used to keeping your body safe. That's what the conscious mind does. It keeps us safe. So it wants to do its role, but my job is to try to get it over to the side so we can get you nice and relaxed into the right side of your brain, which is where all the visuals, your memories, and everything is stored. So the more I can get you talking on the interview and the more I know you, the better it is for me when it gets to the session, because then I can actually know what questions to ask that are going to be most important for you. And I won't know that if I don't know the client very well. So we talked for a long time, didn't we, Suzette?
Yeah.
And we
But
talked
two or
about
3 hours.
we talked about who you are today, your childhood. I want to say I usually ask, I don't know if I did it with you or not, but I always like to ask, what's your first memory? And even kind
Mhm.
of start from there, because that
Wow.
really gets me into how far back they can remember. And then we just go kind of in a timeline and I get to the nitty gritty. But the more information you can give your practitioner and the more safe and comfortable you feel with them, which is really important.
And that
Um,
was important for me. The
yeah.
comfort. That was more important than anything. I had lots of modalities, so just being safe was to let go. And once I let go and was felt safe, then I could actually go into my subconscious or my higher self or whatever. So
Yeah.
the talking was brilliant.
Yes, yes. It's intended to get a lot of stuff out too.
Right.
The
Oh
interview
yeah.
should be emotional because you're talking about your life and what's gone wrong and why you're coming to see me. I mean, there's generally a reason as to why you want to have a session like this. It could be from physical symptoms. You could have
Hmm.
physical ailments that can be healed.
Hmm.
It could just be simple, what's my purpose? I feel stuck in my life. Or is this the right relationship for me? So it's any question is can be answered. But the interview just gets you kind of loose and relaxed, and then at that point, I do an induction, which is a very quick induction. And this is what Dolores is known for. It's all about visualization.
Hmm.
So, I'll ask you to visualize a couple different things in your head. And the more you can visualize it, the easier it is for the movie to kind of start playing, if that makes sense. Um, if you see an image of a pair of shoes, for instance, say brown shoes. Okay, brown shoes. Are they small? They're small brown shoes made of leather and they look very dirty. It could be a kid type of shoes. The more you look at that image and really concentrate on it, the more everything kind of comes clear in that vision. So it's really important to be able to visualize, or at least um, I think it's, yeah, I do. I want to say it's important to be able to visualize. If you can't visualize, I didn't realize this until I started doing this. There is a certain number of the population that can't see things in their mind's eye.
Hmm.
And I'm not really sure how to navigate that yet. That's why I'm just an intern still learning and practicing. But if you can visualize, then you can do this with ease. And it's just about getting you relaxed. We go down to the theta phase, which is the deepest state of trance. The ones you see on TV, like, or the stage hypnotists, or ones that are generally for quit smoking and that kind of stuff, they stay away from the theta because they've realized that weird things happen. And the weird things is what Dolores wanted to happen and what she explored. But most traditional hypnotherapy, as far as I understand it, kind of takes you to the alpha layer, which is not quite as deep, but it's still potent and does work in that particular modality. But we'll take you all the way down to the theta level. That's the level that you're in right before you go to sleep, and
Hmm.
the first when you wake up, right before your conscious mind takes over.
Hmm.
And it's a mambuliscate state, which means that you can actually move. It's kind of like when people are sleepwalking. That's the same type of state that they're in, because sometimes people have to get up and go to the bathroom during these sessions.
Wow.
And it happens. And so I kind of I help them over to the bathroom, and I kind of say, pretend, when you go into the bathroom in the middle of the night and you kind of don't want to turn the lights on and you're half eyes closed and you're feeling mostly, I go to the bathroom and that state come back and I can put them right back in. So
Wow. That's wild.
you are able to move. I don't want people to think you can't move. You do have free will.
Yes.
I know that scares people. People think, "Oh my gosh, someone's going to hypnotize me, and what are they going to do to me?" I'm not.
Exactly.
Gonna, I'm not going to do anything to you that you wouldn't allow me to. And maybe so that you can speak on that. Did you feel at any point like you didn't have control?
No, I felt like I had control, but I also felt like I was under hypnosis because my eyes,
Hmm.
and you said something to me about it, and then after I thought about it, I could feel my eyes just going back and forth, and but I kind of felt like I was, not that I couldn't move, I could move, but just like a heaviness of just. And I do meditation, you guys, so when I'm doing meditation, sometimes I feel real heavy, and it's not it's just a heaviness of being still, like
Yes.
a stillness. I want to say a stillness, not a heaviness.
Mhm.
um so I was a stillness over me, and I felt totally fine, totally safe. But I did know that I was in a different space, realm, whatever you might call it.
It is. It's hard to describe because to
It
me,
is.
I feel like myself, but just a little bit different, like a little bit more relaxed. But there's
Yes.
nothing that anybody could tell me to do that I wouldn't want to normally do in my daily life that I would do. You know what I mean? It's not like anybody could put me in some weird, make me do something I didn't want to do.
No, I
Um,
felt like when I was under, if I didn't wanna do it, I just said no.
mhm,
I think
mhm,
I've in my session, something I said no, and
mhm,
that was the end of it. Um,
mhm.
so yeah, I think you can come out of it if you wanted to. But for
Yes.
me, I just wanted to be there and relax and to hear what my higher self had to say.
Mhm.
You kind of really need to be in that wanting receiving.
That's the other thing too, is you have to want this. You have to believe it's going to work.
Mhm.
Um, because if you don't, then it's not going to work.
Right.
There's some great stories that Dolores would tell in in my training about people who would come in and they were adamant about, I'm angry. I'm an angry person. I've been an angry person my whole life. This is who I am, but I don't want to be angry anymore. And they want the
Mhm.
anger taken away from them. And
Oh.
then later on, they find that they're still angry.
Mm.
And Dolores would bring him back and they would have a conversation. He'd be like, "You didn't work. This didn't work. And, this is a sham." And in the talking with them, it was discovered that that was such a big part of that person's personality that they didn't really know who they were without it. So they
Mm.
didn't, they didn't really want it removed. They said they did, but they really didn't because that was their identity. So, you have to think about that too. And what I tell people is try not to have expectations, too many expectations, because every session I've done so far, Suzette, I've done 12.
Okay.
To do 25 to get my certification.
Mhm.
And every single one has been different.
Yes.
So even my expectations, I have to remember not to have any because not everybody will go back to that past life that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes people will jump to different lives. Sometimes people jump to parallel lives, which I want to say that might have been something that you did at one
Okay.
point. And that
So what
was
does that mean?
huh?
What does that mean?
Well, parallel life is it's in the quantum field. We live in a
Mm.
quantum universe, meaning
Right.
that any decision that we make every choice that we make, the other thing that we didn't choose can still go off and have a life.
Right, right,
For
right.
instance, let's say I didn't marry my husband. Um, there's a life somewhere that I'm living where I didn't make that choice. And now there's a life without me and my husband, and now I have more choices in that life.
Mm.
So there can be infinite number of lives that we are living, and we can be moving in between them too, based on our frequency and our vibration and the inner work that we're doing. So there was a point where I want to say you went back to a life where you were having your child
Mhm.
and you were wearing something different than probably, I think you were wearing a pink sweatshirt and it
Yeah,
was different.
I remember that.
Yeah. So that made me wonder. I'm like, maybe because you weren't wearing the exact same outfit that you remembered wearing, maybe that was looking at a parallel life where you did have your daughter and that's what you were wearing in that particular life when you had your daughter. And then, so it's hard to say. This is all really new. There's
Right,
so
right.
many different things that you can jump into. And my job is to navigate and help navigate as best as I can, which can be hard because I'm going off of what the client's telling me. And if the
Right.
client says all I see is black, then I just have to come up with questions to try to make it more clear for them. And that can be challenging and difficult, but that's why we have to do so many sessions before we become certified so that we've kind of gone through all the different possible scenarios that can happen. But you will
So
be brought, go ahead.
what's your experience with like something good you can tell us and something like not so good that happens in these 12 that you've already had that people might be able to like for me, I've had a good one. Everything was well, but
Mhm.
what's your perspective of it?
I I love all of it. I love the interview. I love that
Mhm.
because I get to meet people and hear their stories,
I
and I
love
get to um, connect with them. To me, that
Mhm.
is so important, and I hope I hope they enjoy it as well because love having that conversation with them about their lives. I feel like we learn a lot in that process.
Yeah.
What's really interesting to me is getting able to see the facial expressions of the people as they're doing this. My job is to make sure that you are in the right level of trance. And theta is notorious for having the REM, the eye movement, the rapid eye movement. And that's what you were referencing before. Suzette, you were one of the ones that had the most REM that I noticed. Her eyes were moving so much that at one point it almost looked like they were opening up and closing really fast. Um,
I don't know what that. I mean,
you're not the only one. It's happened to others, but you were the
okay, good.
most prominent. So that's a good sign. That means, wow, she's deep. She's really deep. Those are all good signs. Those are
Well, I'm
things.
glad to know that there was other people because I've thought about that and I could have just messaged you, but I was like, am I the only one that's like,
No,
okay, good.
you were the most prominent, which I love, but everybody does it to a certain degree, and that's how I know we're in the right spot.
Okay, good.
Um, there have been so I love watching the physical changes that happen when after we take you through a past life. The first part of the session is I relax you enough to where you're able to visualize a scene, and that scene is usually a past life that your subconscious picked for you to see because it has a lot of relevant information for this current life that you're in.
Mm,
And when you open your eyes, I see you open your eyes, but your eyes are closed, but you're opening your mind's eye and you're kind of looking around at when I tell you to do that. And you just have to say the first thing you see. Sometimes people don't see things. Sometimes they'll feel something. I feel sadness. And then I just have to ask questions. Okay, what kind of sadness? And, sometimes people will hear things. And so I just have to go with whatever awareness they have. And I ask questions to guide them through to help make the scene become more visual for them, hopefully, so that they can begin to see it like a movie playing in their head. But the physical changes I see, I love. The deep sighing and the hearing of the breathing is something that I'm trained to listen for. After the past life, that's when I call in your higher self, and that's when we get to the questions that you prepare, and I ask your higher self. That's where the answers come in. And every time the SC for short, the subconscious comes in, the face changes. It's like you're very relaxed, but it's even a more relaxed feeling. It's a more relaxed face.
mm.
Um, People's voices will change. I've
Oh, wow.
heard some people talk in a more robotic voice that generally doesn't speak in a robotic voice. That happened to my friend. Um, Another one I did, she's an amazing practitioner in Fort Walton Beach. She wanted to come and help me in my certification. She's from the UK, but when her subconscious came through, it didn't have an accent. It had, an accent like me and you.
Wow.
And she didn't remember any of it, which is another thing is sometimes you'll remember all of the session. Sometimes you'll remember bits and pieces, and sometimes you won't remember anything. And so you are given a recording, which is what you need to listen to. Because even if you think you remember everything, I bet there's going to be bits and pieces that you're surprised. You're like, whoa, did I really say that? I can't believe I said that. And the more you listen to the recording, the easier it is to keep that channel open with your higher self. And you can keep that connection open. And you're going to find, like you said, things start connecting.
Yeah.
Days, weeks, months go by, and you're like, oh my gosh, that makes sense now when I said that. So listen to the recording as often as you can to help with the repetition. Hypnosis works best with repetition. So listen to it as
Yeah.
often as you can, and it helps keep that channel open.
Yeah, my life's changed since the session. I've moved back across the country. I've listened to my higher self because it said speak, and
Mm-hmm.
now I have a podcast. I think it's almost 8 weeks now. I've had 8 different guests. I've got enough for a whole year. I mean, I've just asked people like, what do you want, and you want to be on my podcast? They're like, yeah, the message me, and I'm like, okay. So it was almost like this was supposed to happen, but I didn't really get it until I started listening to my higher self. And I don't, and so that's what I'm saying to all of your people out there or anybody that wants to do it. It's amazing because it can change your life. It actually does change your life, don't you believe? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely changes your life. You did ask about some maybe not so good things that have happened. And I
Right.
wouldn't call them not so good things. It's just experience, right?
Yes.
Everybody's different and everybody's mind is different. And what it takes for me to relax might be completely different than what somebody else takes to relax. And
Yes.
one thing you got to remember too is in this interview, or I need to remember in the interview process, some of the things that are being revealed to me and that the client you are talking about is very traumatic. And a lot of people are reliving that as they're talking to
Mhm.
me. And then it's kind of like, okay, lay on the table and relax. You're like, wait a minute, I just poured my heart out. I'm shaking, crying because I'm just talking about these awful things and now I'm just supposed to relax. So I'm having to fine tune a little bit. Realize I need to take a little bit more time before getting them from the interview to lay down and really making sure they're comfortable and relaxed and ask enough questions. And even do maybe a little guided, brief 5-minute relaxing meditation with them, some
Mm.
breathing exercises, which I've been incorporating now too. A couple of people said that might be kind of neat to put in before, because not everybody meditates and not everybody is used to that state,
Mm.
that relaxed state. And so it's important to make sure you're relaxed enough. So what I think I'm going to start doing is making some guided meditations that I can record and send it to the clients ahead of time. So
Right.
one, they get used to my voice, and then also they can start doing some relaxing meditation if they're not already incorporating that into their practice. But I found that the people who are meditating are having an easier time getting
Yeah.
into the level and having an easier time getting rid of the conscious mind and allowing the information to flow through. The not so good part about this is when you get a piece of information or you're aware of something and you discard it because your conscious mind can't make sense of it. Um,
Mm.
and that happens a lot. I'll hear, "Oh, I don't know," or "I think," and that tells me that they're not quite trusting the information that's coming in. And it's really about, okay, just relax. Let's take some breaths. Let's get your conscious mind out of the way and, try to really allow the information to come through. So the most important thing is just say the first impression, the very first thing, even if it doesn't make sense. Let me ask questions around it to try to figure out how that weird piece of information comes into play. So,
Well, I remember my session. So I had like a 20-minute, 30-minute drive. And on the way, because I've already did meditation for years and stuff. And I said to myself, no expectations and just allow whatever's going to happen. And even just somebody saying that on the way to your session, even if you just speak it like that, just allow no expectations, just whatever happens. And you have your questions there. So I got to take questions and to hear what actually I wanted to hear. And but if you want to hear them, you have to kind of relax to hear them because you have to have that to come in. But yeah, even just speaking it would be, if you don't
mhm,
meditate, just say, I allow whatever is. And but yeah, also when we had our session in me letting go of, I was letting go of things that I had never let go of before and told people. So, and then, so you're right about here, I'm spilling my guts to you. Now lay down and you're going to hear your higher self. It's kind of,
right.
it kind of is like, what? So I
Yeah.
understand those people, but um, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is kind of, that's a different, it's
Mhm.
something that I've done lots of modalities like Reiki and,
Yeah.
angel healing and all the stuff. And I've never experienced anything like this before. And
Yay. That
it,
makes
it
me
and
so
it's helped me a lot. It's not that the Reiki's helped me when as I needed it, and the angel healing has helped me, but this one was me helping me
yes.
through you. So
Right.
that is a big thing that you can help your
Mhm.
people say,
Mhm.
this is all about you. You can come here and
Yeah.
release, and
Mhm.
you're my guide. And I'm glad that the universe chose you for me, because with the trauma that I had, that I needed to release and feel one of my was feeling safe, and you made that happen for me, so I was be able to do something like this
Yeah.
because
You
it's
might
an
have
intimate situation.
Yeah. You might have had a completely different experience if you had gone to somebody else who wasn't me
Oh, I
and
would
just
have.
you didn't feel as comfortable. So it is important that you jive or that you pick the right practitioner too, because there's, just like with picking a counselor or a therapist, you have to be able to connect with that person and feel safe. Um, and that's exactly right. I am only a guide who is taking you on a journey,
Mm.
and you are seeing it all, and all you're doing is describing the journey. And I'm basically taking notes and getting the question and figuring out questions to help make it make more sense when you listen to your recording. Um, everybody gets a recording. It's important to listen to it. I admit when I first had my session, I didn't listen to my recording right away, and it was because I didn't like the sound of my own voice. And so every time I would start, I don't know why, but every time I'd start listening to it, I would like, I don't want to hear it, so I would turn it off. And there was neat little nuggets of information that I missed for several months.
Mm.
And obviously, I mean, I listened to it. I just always wonder, wow, I wish I would have listened to it and right at the beginning, and maybe things would have been a little bit different. Maybe my connection would have been open a little bit longer. I'm not sure, but I encourage you to listen to it. And it's very interesting when you hear yourself say things or in a different voice or vocabulary that you don't use. It's crazy.
Now,
It
I
happened.
did in my session, I would say when I listened back, because I did listen, um, was like I was a third person. Like I was talking to myself, but like I was talking to you. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of weird. And then I remember saying, huh,
Hmm.
huh. Like,
You
I just
did.
do
I
you
love
remember?
that. I remember that. I remember looking at your face because I can see it coming. I can see the information coming, and you're like, yeah, I love it. I love my job. I got to do one of my really close friends. She came to visit, and I haven't done that many people that I'm close to, and I'm not
Right.
sure why that hasn't happened yet. I think it's because our lives are just so crazy. But my best friend came in, and I got to do a session on her, and it was amazing. And I remember just it wasn't her. She's talking to me. I'm asking her
Mhm.
questions, and I'm like, this isn't her because her voice was different. Her mannerisms were different. She had this little like laugh when I asked her. She was healing something in the body, and I asked
Mm,
questions. I'm like, well, I want to know, how are you healing it? And she said light energy. And I said,
mm.
okay, well, are you using any sort of tool? And before I could even finish talking, she like goes, I don't need any tools. And it was just so not her. And I had to stop myself from laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
My
And
God.
I can feel the energy in the room change.
Yes.
It's very subtle for me. I'm not much of a feeler.
Mhm.
And that's just something that I'm learning or growing on. And I hope I can get better at that. But there's definitely a subtle change in the energy in the room.
Yeah.
And I can feel it. And if I can feel it, I know everybody else can feel it because, like I said, I'm not that much into the feels. But it's a wonderful way to get answers. The client comes prepared with questions, and it can be however many questions you have. We suggest to have them in two different lists, kind of have your health related questions and then your life questions. I always start with health. I feel health is the most important.
Yeah.
Um, if the client comes in and they don't really have a lot of health related issues, if you're younger or something, then I always do. And regardless if you have health questions, the first thing I do is a body scan. I ask the higher self to scan the body and let us know if there's any issues or things we need to be aware of. And so sometimes things will be brought up in that part that we didn't realize there was an issue. I had someone mention the liver in a particular client who there was a problem with, and the client didn't drink or wasn't typically prone to have liver issues. So that was really great information for her because now she can make those changes that the higher conscious suggested she start doing, so that hopefully that liver issue won't turn into something else. So
Right.
there's the health related part. And if there is any issues, then I ask right there, heal it. What do we need to do to heal it? A lot of the time, it has to do with the past life that we were just in. Um,
Mm-mm.
for instance, if you're holding a lot of, I had a client who was holding so much guilt for something that they did in a past life, this horrible past, they did something awful. And even though it was the past life, for whatever reason, they're carrying it in this life. And
Yes.
even just knowing, hey, it's okay you did that. That person, in that case, the person deserved what they got. But regardless, you don't need to carry that into this life. And just knowing that was such a relief, and you don't need to carry it around anymore. And so those symptoms will manifest in the body
Yeah.
regardless. And so you could be having issues with your body that doesn't even relate to this life. It could be something in the past that wasn't
Mm.
addressed. But if we get to it and we talk about it and the client understands that it's not that life, they don't need to carry that around anymore, symptoms will disappear.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like we can bring stuff like from my grandmother or I because we collect all everybody's patterns, like our mom and sometimes I'm living with my daughter now and I used to live with my son. So
mhm.
it was a whole different experience. Like she came in the bathroom, I was in the tub and I was like, oh, well, I'm not used to anybody coming in to me, for
Yeah,
years. She's 37 years old. She hasn't lived with me for since she was 16. And then I was talking to her earlier and I said, when I'm having these feelings, the other day I was crying. I said, is this my feeling or is this their? And then my 17-year-old granddaughter lives here too. So I'm like, whose feelings are they? But like you said, you could have these feelings that we are keeping in our body from other people or past lives or God knows what.
right, right. And our body does, it stores all of that.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that all infections, disease, especially cancers, they all manifest from these feelings that we haven't dealt with. And that's what Julia, who you mentioned, Dolores's daughter, Julia,
Yes.
she has taken over the business because Dolores did pass away. I believe it was 2014.
Mm.
She handed over the reins to Julia and a couple of the level 3 practitioners. And Julia wrote a wonderful book called Soul Speak.
So
And it's,
speak.
yes. And she, through her QHHT work, I don't want to remind you again, all of these books are not written from them. It's
Right.
information that's come from another source through a person. So while she was having a reading with somebody, so as a practitioner, say, Suzette, say we did this again. Say I
Right.
had you under again. We could explore more past lives. I would definitely bring up your subconscious because we could ask more questions. But we could also I could ask questions about me, or you could ask questions about your son, like as a surrogate. So
Wow.
sometimes people, Julia, Dolores, will have these sessions with people just to ask questions about the universe, what's happening in the world. So it's just to gain that information. And so Julie had a lot of these sessions with people and asked the clients, hey, can I ask questions through you in the session? And that's how she gained a lot of this information. So the information came again from the client's mouth. She recorded it, took notes, but she wrote a great book that talks about all the different body systems. Every single ache, pain, issue you have relates to a repressed memory or something that you're holding on to.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah. Like knee issues, a lot of people who have knee pain. Um, you're not moving in the right direction. Where in your life have you stopped going in the right direction? So it's
Mm.
all about being inquisitive with your body.
Yeah.
My eyesight. What do I don't want to see? What have I been trying
Yes.
not to see in my life? You
My
know?
ears, sometimes I get problems with my ears and I'm like, okay, what am I not listening to? Like, because I believe the universe is always talking to us no matter what. And and I'll say, well, my ear, I can't hear, I'm not hearing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So she wrote a great book. I bring that in a lot
yeah.
to the sessions because it's helpful when the SC says there's a blockage in the knee. Then we can talk about what the knee means and what that generally what area of your life that has to do with. So
Right.
it's been a great. I'm just really happy I get to do this. I I
Yes.
was this wasn't what I thought I would end up doing. It's always what I wanted to do. And life's situation happened to where I was able to start doing it last year, and it's been eye opening and amazing. And I love the fact that I can help people connect to their inner knowing and I'm not doing anything. I don't like responsibility, if you haven't been able to tell. I'm always afraid of like being blamed, or she said this was gonna happen in 2 months, or this was gonna happen. I'm like, nope, I didn't say it, you said it.
Right.
You
Your
you
higher
know,
self did it.
yeah, your higher self said it, so I don't know. But it's fantastic. I love it.
Well,
And
it suits you. It seems like, and we haven't even known each other that long. And so I can just tell, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And for me, just a little example of just living in Florida, when all this stuff happened, and then I was fighting to stay in Florida. And one day I just said, universe, I just give it up. Just whatever's supposed to happen happens. And that day I was got a message to come home, and money started flowing. I rented a U-Haul to come to Florida with $600. I called there $66.
I love
I'm
it.
like, that's not even right. I'm like, I called them 3 times. Are you sure? Yeah, $66. I'm like, what? So everything started going as planned, and we got here smoothly, and everything just happened. And that's how it goes. When you know it's for you, like you doing this, it's for you. And for me, this speaking, I everybody has messaged me. Not that I haven't messaged people and said, "Hey, I'm having a podcast," but almost everyone has messaged me and said, "Can I be on your podcast?" And I'm like, I'm not even like a big podcast yet or anything, but I'm thinking, I think I'm going to be, because I think, and I love all the stuff that we're talking about. I mean, it's just so amazing. And right now I've interviewed just people that I've been physically, with, but I'm going to start. I had people from Australia and stuff. So I'm going to be like, okay, that's going to be wild. But
That is really
yeah.
cool. I
So
think a lot of
go ahead.
I think a lot of people are. I hate saying waking up because it has a weird connotation, but I think a lot of people are really starting to see what's really happening in the
Yeah,
world and realize that we need to do the inner work.
we do.
Because we can't keep changing everybody or trying to change everybody. It doesn't work. But if we change ourselves and become better ourselves, and all of us do that, or enough of us do that, then things are going to change for the better. I fully believe in setting intentions every day. I fully believe in manifesting. That's how I got to Florida. I I fully believe in the flow.
Yeah,
Whenever I kind of take myself out of it, like usually a control freak, and it's been hard for me.
we all are.
Um, yeah, it's been so hard for me, but I find that when I'm not controlling things as much and just letting it be and allowing, like you say, I love the word allowing, my life just works better. It's when I start nitpicking and micromanaging and trying to figure, oh, how am I going to get this to work? If that's got to go that, that's when my life gets crazy and it doesn't always work out better.
Well, that's
So,
why I think the whole allowing the QHHT has been like that. And for me, the podcast has been like that. I don't even think about it. I'm just like, oh my, it's Sunday. I'm going to be on the podcast. And it's like
mhm,
this exciting thing to do. And like the other, like I'm trying to work. I'm trying to work is exactly I'm trying, because sometimes it's not working out. So I'm like, stop doing that and do just podcast every day. If I could, I
mhm.
would. So
I believe there's something to, I remember my dad telling me, no matter how much money you make, that's not important. Go where the joy is. And
yeah,
I so believe that. Do it. And I'm telling my kids, I have a 14-year-old son who can't figure out what we're going to do with you, when you get older, what do you do? And I just keep saying, what brings you joy? Because that's where you need to focus. Even if you can't figure out how to make money in that sense, it'll come. I
yeah.
truly believe it'll come if your intention is good and you are hardworking at whatever that is. But go where the joy is, because I've
Yeah.
worked lots of jobs, lots of sales. I was a teacher. I did a lot of things, and nothing brought me joy like this in helping other people. And I
And
feel like
and you're doing it for free right now, right? So,
great.
and you're
Yes.
still having the joy. And this is a podcast that I'm doing for free, and I would do this every day. So that's when you're
Mhm,
doing. My son is a streamer, and he's been streaming for years. He has been sitting in a bedroom for 12 hours a day, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And
mhm.
now he gets paid, and he's
Yay.
still getting there, but
Uh-huh.
it's income every month now, and I'm like, oh my god.
Mhm.
and so it does come. It just takes time. And
Yes.
with
The
our
take
situation, it's believing, and we have all this other stuff we have to get go through. I
Mhm.
do. I limited beliefs. Am I good enough? All the other things.
Yes. And I like what you said. It does take time. And that's the hard part is I think I saw a meme the other day that said something like, don't compare your life to someone who's out there. You might not get it as fast as someone who's hustling, cutting corners, or doing it cheating or not doing it the good way. It's going to take a little bit longer, but it's going to flow and it's going to be better than what you could even imagine. And I like that part.
Well, they
That
said one's what did I see it on YouTube probably, but it said the beginners stop looking at the end people. We were beginners once too. Look at us at the beginning when we only had 3 subscribers, or we only had that one person looking. And now we have 100,000. Don't look at us there. Go back and look at our videos here when you're just starting out. And that's what everybody said. Oh, I'm going to win the lottery, or I'm going to be the number one, QHHT right now. I mean, we all have to put our time in and our energy in, and that's the journey's the best part. The journey's
yes,
the best part because you get to
it
meet
is.
people like me and you. I get to meet you. I met you on the journey.
Yes.
I met, and same here. I'm on a journey to find me, and I found you, and that helped me. I mean, and that's what I love about doing this podcast is we're helping, all of us are helping each other. And we're
Yes.
making it okay. It's okay for me to be the higher self. It's okay for you to be QHHT. It's okay for her to do Reiki. It's okay. It's all okay.
Yeah.
It's the
Hmm.
best.
It is. It
I
is. I do too. I do too. So yeah, I'm excited. I probably will be finished with my 25 early next year, 2024, and my plan is to do this full time. I put out to the universe every day. I hope that clients call me that need my help, and I feel like I've brought a lot of great people into my life doing this, and I want to continue doing that and helping people. I I feel I had personally, this was the modality that I chose because I feel like there are things in our past, like you said, past lives that we don't realize that we're carrying into this life.
And it's
And,
holding us back.
and it is, it's holding us back.
Yeah.
And if we can eliminate that, that's a huge thing. So at least we can find our power in this life and
Hmm.
make our dreams come true in this life. And so give it a shot. Yes, I tell people, give it a shot, try it.
Oh,
It's
yes.
exciting and it's great, and it gives you a sense of peace and a sense of knowing. I believe that can't be taken away, and it really hits you differently in knowing that that information came from me, from a loving source that knows everything and just wants what's best for me, and that's exactly it.
Yeah. And I think knowing it came from me, and because our mom says, well, do this, or our dad say do this, or you can do this, but when it comes from you and it's you, you're like, oh my god, like they've been telling me this for years. And
Mhm.
we just never get it, or we don't want to believe it, or something in our past is holding us back that you can help release, and
Mhm.
then you can move forward. and
Yes, it's all
and
about moving forward. Mhm.
and I've moved forward. And I know a lot of people that like from here, Indiana, are like, "Oh, you moved back." No, I am not moved back. I have moved forward in here. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter you could live in China, and to get the healing that I got of my own self, it doesn't matter where you live because home's right here. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter where you live, but you need to tell them where you live because that's where they need to. You have to do this. And are you froze? Oh, let me see if I can bring you back. This is not. Oh, oh, come back. I don't. Are you there? Okay. Nope. I see you. I haven't done anything that would.
Oh, there we
There
are.
we go. What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm glad to see you though.
No, you came I was like, "I didn't do anything. I didn't want to touch anything." But anyway, tell them you have to do it in person, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. There's a lot of different hypnosis modalities out there. Some do it online, but this particular QHHT is only done in person. That's how we feel it is. There's a lot that I have to do. I need to monitor
Yeah.
emotions. Suzette, if you would have, and there's some people get very emotional, especially when we take them through their death scene of how they died in a particular life. So
Yeah.
there's certain safeguards that I have in place, certain things that I say to help you in those situations. But if you're not there, I could see a lot of things going wrong. So yes, QHHT is done in person. It is a long process. It can take anywhere between 4 to 6 hours. The longer, the better, actually. Like I said, the interview portion is really important about getting a lot of that out and getting your conscious mind tired so that he can go to sleep and we can talk to the fun part.
Yeah.
And, do it with someone that you feel comfortable with. There's 3 different levels of practitioners. They each charge something different. There's really no guideline that I know of. So you can go onto the QHHT website and get a list of practitioners in your area. It'll tell you what level they are, and you can reach out to them. They do set their own prices. I've seen it range anywhere from $333 on up, depending upon the level. So I am a level 1 intern. I need to do 13 more before I become level 1 certified, and then I can start charging. After that, I am enrolled in the level 2 course because I want as much knowledge as I can. It's great because even though Dolores has passed, she recorded all of these great videos of her from a long time ago. So I'm watching and learning from Dolores herself. It's not anybody else. I'm getting
I
direct. She
love
does the
that.
interviews, she does the questions, you get to see her do the sessions.
Oh,
So it's great. And so I hope to pass level 2 in the next couple of months as well and go on to level 3. I want to know as much as I can about this so I can be the best practitioner for those that come to see me.
oh, you're wonderful already. So I can't imagine. I will have definitely have to come back and do 2 and 3 or whatever, however it goes.
No, I would love that. And I'm telling people too, if I did a free session for you, I would love to have you come back. Whether it's a year, 2 years down the road, I would love to offer you to come in and do another session for free so you can see the difference. And I appreciate the ones who are working with me now because I'm not certified yet, and you're
Right.
kind of taking a leap. But I'm great to talk with. I'm
Yeah.
very careful in the induction. I'm very meticulous in following the script. There's nothing to worry about, and it's a great relaxing experience. I think a lot
Yeah.
of people. You slept for a long time afterwards, didn't you?
I think so. I went home and went to bed. And you do have a kind, calming voice. So I don't know why you don't want to hear your voice, but I
Yeah,
did. I Your
thank
voice
you.
was not, I would one of the best things was your voice. You were quiet
Oh,
and calm and made me feel safe. I wouldn't want somebody going, "Oh."
you are
That
that
kind of
good. Yeah, for sure. Because you
you
know,
are natural. So,
yay, that makes me feel good. I've been looking for my little thing, my little niche, and I found it. And I'm
yeah.
so happy that others are seeing that in me as well. It's just giving me the
Yeah,
confidence to keep going forward. And I just want to help people.
you do.
Um, I was with a man who, for many years, who I feel would have really helped if he'd done this.
Mm,
Um, he might still be here today. Unfortunately, he is not.
right.
And that's really why I'm going with this full steam ahead. I don't want anybody to feel or be that sad in their life, knowing
Um,
that there's answers out there if you just look for them and allow them to come.
That's the thing, the allowance and try and everything's I wanna say it's new to people, but actually this is old, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, she
But
started doing this in the 60s, 1960s.
yeah, and people think, "Oh, well, I just heard about this, QHHT, I just heard about, this, higher self or whatever." But this stuff has been around for years, and
Yeah.
we're just now bringing it mainstream. It's just now coming into mainstream all over the world.
I think people are finally ready to allow something else in that maybe before was a little scary or different. But I
Yeah.
think with the way the world is going, people are looking for something to help them. And the things that they're trying or buying or taking and ingesting isn't working anymore. And there's got to be a better way. And I want everybody to try it, because you can tap in to that all knowing and get those answers that you deeply need.
Yeah, because I find myself trying to buy something and I'm like, I know I just need to go meditate
Yes,
because
I
that's
do
what we
too.
do. We do
Yeah.
this self-sabotage. But if you don't meditate or you can't connect, perfect right here.
Mm-hmm.
It will help you.
Yes.
She'll take you right to the answers that you need. And I remember you did the body scan on me, and I had leg issues and of guilt and shame, just guilt and shame. And I was like, okay, how can I release this? And after the session, you get to take those things and say, okay, how can I work with myself to
Right.
get rid of it? So, and like you said, somebody had something wrong with their liver. Now they can go and say, hey, could you check my liver? It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love this stuff, and
Me too.
it helps, and that's the main thing is to help.
Mm-hmm. It's not the magic cure, though. I don't want people to think
No,
that
no,
they go into this body scan and it gets healed and then they can just go back to their life.
no.
It's yeah, you have to still do and be a good person and do the inner work, because that's where all of these ailments are coming from, whether it's past life or how you're acting in this life and how you're carrying your energy in this life. But you can't just go back to being, a horrible person if that's who you were in the beginning and expect these great results. You have to work on yourself, and it's a lifelong thing. But
Yeah,
I feel like even people who maybe aren't as spiritual or awakened as us, this can bring that to them, and it can be like the seed that gets planted, and all of a sudden they'll start meditating or taking more time to themselves and grounding and that kind of thing. So I think it can open people to the spirit world as well.
yeah, it definitely can. So I love it.
Yay. I'm
Well,
so glad I got to do. I got so glad I got to meet you, Suzette, and that you trusted me. Because I know the day before you were thinking about canceling,
yeah.
and I'm really happy that you trusted me and that you had the confidence to come meet me. I know it was scary,
Well,
but
I
I
talked
appreciate
to my mom about it, and she's like, "Oh, honey, she looks so cute. She, she's safe." And I don't usually listen to my mom.
it.
But I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it and I'm glad I did because now I got to meet you and I've got to meet my higher self.
Mhm,
And it really truly helped me. And I'm
mhm.
hoping that anybody that's watching this, and I want to say something on here, you guys, I know a lot of people's watching the podcast and not subscribing. And I guess this is a thing, but subscribe because you're going to learn so much stuff on here. And you can also message me, and to get any information you need that if you didn't hear it right now. And tell them where they can find you. Can you give them do you want to give them your Facebook link, or can people message
Yeah,
you if they have any
I
questions?
didn't. I didn't come prepared or think about how to do that. But you can look me up on my Facebook page for the hypnosis is maybe I can do it this way. This is going to look kind of weird, but it's quantum hypnosis. It's probably mirrored. Quantum hypnosis healing with Laura.
Okay.
Um, and quantum hypnosis, I know it's kind of hard to say. Quantum hypnosis healing with Laura. My name is Laura Meyer. I'm also on Facebook under Laura Meyer. You can reach me through there, and then you can find the link to my hypnosis page. I am in the process of coming up with a website and an Instagram account as well. And someday I'll do the podcast like you are, Suzette, and get this all figured out with the tech stuff. But
There's so much.
huh?
There's so much to do.
There are. Well, all the little technical stuff, and that
No,
overwhelms me. But I'm kudos to you for
me too.
persevering it and getting through it all. So
Well, I'm just doing the basics really because I don't have it all together. But
yeah.
I figured it was so funny. I told myself the other day, I said, I wonder what I'll be doing in a year. Like how much more I've learned. And I had to allow myself, actually, my son helped me. He said, Mom, just try a little bit at a time. Just keep doing it. And now that I'll tell him about my podcast, and he's like, just keep going, Mom. Just keep going. So I have
Oh,
that because he knows all the technical. And I was saying, can you teach me this? Can you show me that? And he said, no, learn it yourself, which is
mhm.
basically the best way because that's way I know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
well, send me the link and we'll put it under the video and we'll share it all out. I'm
Okay.
still trying to figure out how to share everything out, but it is live on my Facebook right now. So,
Perfect.
and
Yay.
we can share it over there. And I can see people that's been on here. So
Okay, awesome. And yeah, I'll figure out how to get it onto my page too, and anybody can watch it at their leisure. And I can direct to Suzette's YouTube page. I don't have a YouTube yet, but yeah, I will definitely share the link so that others can see it too. And let's just spread the word, get it out there.
yes,
Let's get those people get some healing and some guidance from themselves.
let's heal the people.
Let's heal everybody. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yay. Thank you for having me, Suzette. This was wonderful. I'm so glad I got to spend my Sunday morning with you.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.